Okay.
All right. Hello, good morning, everyone. I just want to say that this is being recorded for those who aren't able to come to this meeting. We're going to send it to them afterwards. So just wanted to let you guys know about that first. But we are glad to have you guys all on here today. Like Lamont said, we're just going to briefly go over a few changes and some things for the upcoming Banquet season. But if everyone wants to go around and introduce themselves, they can.
Don't be shy.
This is Keith Tobin. We're from
Good morning.
Thomasville.
I'm Cynthia Ratliff with the Granville County Chamber of Commerce.
Again, Keith Tobin,
Hey.
Thomasville Chamber of Commerce.
Brian Norris, Business High Point Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning. This is David Snook from WCI in Asheville.
Sandra Wilkerson from the Henderson Vance County Chamber of Commerce.
Megan Zalowski with the Gaston Business Association.
Erica Sowers with the ASSP Western Carolina chapter.
Joe Wallace with the Lexington Area Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, it looks like everyone has gone. So for the first point, we're just going to talk about safety award banquets in general and the way that we're allowing people to sign up for the banquets next year. We are allowing the applicants to select the banquets that they would like to go to, and on the application, they will have a list of all of the banquets along with the dates, and they are able to select which banquet they want to attend, but they must have the application in by February 15th and or 6 weeks prior to the banquet. So if we get a application in after February 15th, and the banquet is within 6 weeks or less, then we will not be able to guarantee them a spot at the banquet. This is just to help with the process of getting the list to all of the co-sponsors in a timely manner. The banquet map and schedule will be located on the NC Department of Labor Safety Awards website. So we can, anyone can go and look at the banquet map and schedule at any point in time. Lamont, do you have anything to add with that?
Yes. Well, I was just going to say again, we didn't get a chance to introduce ourselves, but my name is Lamont Smith, and I am the program manager for the Safety Awards and the Carolina Star program. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you all for your attendance and support. And Kylie, as you know, she's the Safety Awards coordinator. And another key member of our team is Melody Braswell and Melody Way. And so she is a part of our group and supports and assists and gets the awards together. And just the overall purpose and intent for this meeting is to ensure that we collaborate and communicate with our co-sponsors and all of our stakeholders in this process and our participants. So we just value your partnership and appreciate your support. And we just want to work together to ensure that we minimize any potential for mistakes moving forward, and that we recognize the companies and work sites in North Carolina who are at the forefront of safety and health. And we've had some systematic changes over the time frame, so that's why we put out a survey for you all to provide us with feedback on how we can continuously improve. So we do appreciate that. And we do appreciate your feedback. So, Kylie, as far as where you started off with the agenda, I do not have anything to add with that particular section, other than the one thing we just really want to focus on is where we tend to have issues is with the deadlines, allowing companies to submit applications after the deadline. We will still do that, but we just cannot guarantee them a banquet spot or opportunity because we want to make sure that we get the list, a formal list to you all within 4 weeks. So we're giving them 6 weeks to get that list to us. I mean, to get their applications cleared through us so we can get it to you all within 4 weeks for processing time. In the past, we've allowed people to send them in late and then try to get them into the banquet, but that's kind of really created a problem for us. But you all have any questions with that process, that section? And if not, Kylie can go ahead to section 2. Any questions? Okay. Kylie, you want to
Lamont,
proceed?
Lamont, this is
Yes.
Joe Wallace.
Hey, Joe.
Question for you with regard to the new setup, and how long do you think in advance you're going to be able to tell the host entities how many people to expect at that banquet?
So what we hope to is we're given that 6 weeks window. So depends upon when your banquet is. So of course, if you have a banquet on the front end, our applications need to be submitted by the 15th because we probably have the banquets starting to be scheduled about 6 weeks out from February 15th. And we would like to, in an ideal situation, to have them all by February 15th because there's so much that goes into the process for us approving and processing the application that if we don't and we get them after the 15th, it just makes us that much much more difficult. So I would say, Joe, in answer to your question, our goal is to receive them within 6 weeks of your respective banquets and then have you that list within 4 weeks prior to the banquet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And so that's the way we drew up the policies this year. Also, one thing that we felt like, I'll reiterate what Kylie was saying, as far as what we're going to have, and that's why it's important for us to get those banquets scheduled. We're going to allow our companies to choose their banquet location, which most of them are going to choose the banquet that's closest to them. So that doesn't mean you're going to lose any participants. It's just that we've been trying to put them in the banquet that makes more sense to us from a logistical standpoint. However, it will be better because we just ran into a lot of confusion where someone will say, well, I want to go to this banquet versus that banquet. So they're going to choose. That's why if we have all those dates submitted by all of our banquet co-sponsors, and before we send out our letter, which will be January the 6th to the award recipient, we have all those dates, then they'll be able to go through the application process and select their banquet location. So that's our plan for this year.
It
Okay.
looks like Erica has her hand raised. Do you have something to say?
Yes. So I kind of wanted to bounce off of Joe's question because I think I think I know where he might be headed with this. Um, it, it's it's difficult. So let me rephrase this. When we're trying to select a location, I guess the better question is how are, it's hard for us to select a location without knowing approximately how many to expect to attend. Because if we say that historically we have anywhere from 40 to 60 people, but for some reason, with this new selection process and companies being able to select where they want to go, we could that number could go from like anywhere from 20 to 80. So I think there's that level of uncertainty. So it's from a planning perspective, it might be difficult for us to select a venue, and if we do select a venue, can we put a cap on the number of people that can attend that venue based upon capacity?
That's a great question, Erica. You know, from that perspective, it really is going to be difficult for us to gauge because there's several factors that go into that. Us not even knowing when a company submits an application, whether or not they qualify. Um, I guess that from your perspective, could you put a cap? Yes, I mean, it definitely, you are the co-sponsor, and if that's the best way to handle the situation for you, I would say yes, you could put a cap on it. Then we might just would have to find them another banquet location for them to go if that's a concern. To be honest with you, in this situation with us, with this being our first time doing it this way, it would be very difficult for me to say how this is going to turn out. Um, we just know it just eliminates a lot of the mistakes that we had last year, with last minute additions and changes to the banquets. So eh, trying to answer your question, I really don't. I don't know how that will turn out, and I don't know how we can account for how many prior to February 15th. And even then, that's the deadline for us to receive the application. We also have to process the applications in terms of approving them, reviewing the applications to see if they qualify, and approving those applications.
Hey,
So you
Lamont,
have a,
it's
Mhm.
Joe again. With regard to this whole process, and are the companies that are submitting applications, are they also by the 15th going to have to tell you how many people they're sending to the banquet?
we did not include that, Joe. It may be something we have not sent out the process. I mean, that's a good, I'll take note on that.
Well, the
Um,
reason I
we,
asked Lamont is because we had,
mhm.
and maybe we're the only ones, I don't know, but we have always spent a lot of time tracking these companies down and representatives for those companies to verify who they're sending. And
Okay.
that also includes representatives from county and city government and everything else.
Okay, that's a great idea, Joe. So what we will do, we'll look at, because we haven't sent the letter out yet. It's our plan to get that out on January the 6th. We can add that to our application process and say, please indicate how many you plan to send to the banquet. I mean, that's an excellent idea. So we'll add that.
Hey, Lamont, this is Brian Norris, Business High Point. So we do the event every other year. We rotate between Greensboro and High Point, and this year it's our turn. And then, if I'm recalling from 2 years ago, obviously we received a Excel sheet that had all of the different names and the companies that were qualified for the awards. And then they were
Mhm.
kind of going through us to register. Will that still be the case, or we'll receive that updated sheet so that we are their front point person as far as scheduling, or does that change in how you guys promote the banquets and how it becomes more, previously it would have been like, all right, here's your region, here's the list, you send it out, and they go through us. Is that still what you're anticipating?
Yes, we're about to cover that on this next section.
Okay.
So you will be receiving a spreadsheet and a list, but um, I for the sake of not taking that away from Kylie, and then I can follow up. You can follow up with some questions regarding that. That's on the bullet point number 2. Have we answered all the questions in terms of the safety award banquet with bullet point 1, or is there any more? And we can answer questions at the end, but go ahead.
Hi, Tanya with the Burke County Chamber. I was just curious, is it too late to for the 6-week, 4-week notification, because for us, when we get that list, then we've got to turn around and do a letter to all those folks and try to get them to the banquet and make sure they know and get all the details. So if we get it 4 weeks out, then that means they're basically going to get it a notification 3 weeks out. And for some companies, that's not much notice, because I know like we have 2 or 3 that they pull their whole safety team in to come to the luncheon. Well, 3 weeks notice for that is not a whole lot. And I know this past year we had very little notice. So is there any possible way we can get our list before 4 weeks prior to our event? Is there any way that on your end, can you on your end not give, maybe take away some of that time so that we can have some more time into, and just like someone else was saying, we have to hunt them down sometimes. It takes a lot of time, and for them to have the notification needed to get their people at the luncheon, is there any way you can back that up so that we can have more time in getting the people there?
Tanya, have you scheduled your banquet already with Kylie?
No.
You haven't? Okay. So what you can do is work with her and the banquet, and we'll try to make sure we'll get you a list of what we have received by February 15th and what we have approved. I will tell you, when we receive 3,000 applications, I mean, that's a lot of applications, and Kylie's pretty much approving all of those applications on her own. Being that she's the safety awards coordinator. So it is a lot of applications for her to go through and review the numbers and see if they meet the criteria for participation. I would say we try to get that done as early as we possibly can. Part of the problem is people sending them after the 15th, but we will work with you as best we can to get it to you early. We would love to get it there within 6 weeks if we could, but we were just saying our absolute, well, put it this way, we want our deadline to be the 15th in terms of being qualified for the banquet. But we know some of you, depending upon how you all operate as co-sponsors and supporters of this banquet activity, some people, the way they're established and set up, they'll take them at the door. Some people prefer to have the whole list within 6 weeks, some within 4 weeks, some within 2 weeks. So we try to work within those timeframes that work with you. If you want a list within 6 weeks, depending upon your when your banquet is scheduled, we can definitely send you the names of the ones that we have already processed, and from there we can just have a cutoff, kind of like what Erica was saying. We could have a cap, or we could have a cutoff and just say this is the last day. This co-sponsor will not be able to process your information within that time frame. Now we're talking to you all as co-sponsors. We're saying February 15th or 6 months, depending upon where your banquet falls. When we send this information out to the participants, then we're telling them February 15th is the only date that's going to guarantee you being in a banquet.
So I think it would be helpful if we could, after the 15th, and you process all of those, if we could get that major list that's going to come to our area, that would be very helpful, because I think what happened last year was it was waited until everybody got in or whatever it was, and it was so late that we really had a hard time getting people there and them knowing when it was. So if, however long it takes after February 15th to process those, and say it's March 15th or whatever, if we could get that major list, at least we have a good number of who we're going to be recognizing. We could go ahead and, start working on those people and let them know when our event is. And then if there's, 5 or 6 companies that come in afterwards, then we can slip them in. But at least we'd have the majority of them done up front. I think that'd be very helpful.
Yeah, I agree with that. I
Okay.
wonder too. I kind of wonder too, like, if it almost benefits us to actually have an event later or pick our date later, so we have more lead time.
Yeah.
And we do this as
Well, we're
well as
starting
we
the
come
events.
together.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sydney. What did you say?
No, I was saying we also have that issue of getting names and tracking people down, and we also have pushed ours to more of the summertime. But I did had a quick question. I had to step out at the beginning. I know the first thing on the agenda was the dates being on the website. Is that already on the website at the moment?
No, so you're talking about the banquet dates?
Yes, we have already sent hours in for 2025. We try to get all our dates in by October, so we've already at requested a date. Just want to know if whether or not that is set in stone. Are you guys still kind of working with that, or how does that look?
Uh, I might ask Kylie to elaborate on that, but if you set the date, that date, I mean, is pretty much established if that's the date that works for you best. So, but not, and that answer to your first question, that list is not up because we haven't scheduled all the banquets yet. We hope to have
Okay.
all those banquets scheduled by December 20th. That will work best for us is to have everything done by December 20th. So when the letter goes out to all the award participants or prospective participants, when that letter goes out, it will have a list of all the banquets and the dates so they can choose. And kind of going back, I think Joe, you had asked, or maybe Erica, I might be getting confused who asked the question. Going back to ensuring that some of the people that's been participating in your banquet previously, maybe I would suggest too that you reach out to those individuals, maybe through letter, and just say, hey, look, we're scheduled for our safety award banquet on this day when the lists and the applications come out. Please, just welcome them back in terms of saying, hey, please um, select our banquet or however you want to write the letter, but you'll see our banquet is scheduled for, April 17th, and please select our banquet. We look forward to having you back.
Right. Okay. And I do,
Yeah.
you said February 15th is really that date you all the application in. And of course, if it's not that date, it's the 6 week out. Um, we'll say February 15th. I know that would be helpful to go ahead and get that date out there and let them know, because we do send, like someone did say, we do send letters, and then we do emails, and so all that outreach with elected officials and stuff, that is very time consuming. So just trying to get that in and let them know in advance, because we also have companies that like to bring their whole safety team, which of course will leave their company a little short on that day and that particular time. And so I just wanted to make sure that was, you guys have already worked on getting the dates in, because we're also in an area where we have one venue that can hold the amount of people that makes event. And unfortunately, some for such a big county do have to compete with other organizations to get those secured, and moving them aren't as easy as other events might be. That's something I want to ask. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So your date should be solid there. We do have, I know you all are aware that we do have a new Department of Labor Commissioner, Commissioner-elect Luke Farley. We haven't had a chance to sit down with him and meet with him. He doesn't start until January 1, but there might be some differences, in terms of trying to get him scheduled to come to your respective banquets. But we will certainly make sure that we have a really good keynote speaker there in the event he's unable to make that event, being that he's just transitioning into his role. But we're not sure when we get a chance to meet with him. Um, but it shouldn't impact your dates at all if you've already submitted for you and worked it out with Kylie and scheduled your date. No. Okay.
Lamont, I have a question. I had talked with Kylie about this last year. When you guys send out the letter,
Mhm.
please send a copy of that to us. I'm with the Henderson Vance County Chamber and Granville County, and we're partnered together this year. It's Granville County, so Cynthia's on the line. But I'd like to send that out to our membership as well to try to get these businesses to apply for this, because there are a lot that do not apply, and I know they should, but they're not. And did I just hear when somebody said that getting all of their elected officials there, because in the past we hadn't really tried to get our elected officials to come. It's just the award winners. And so is that something that is the norm that we are supposed to be looking into?
Sandra, that was me. This is Joe Wallace with the Lexington Chamber. Normally, it has been what we have experienced is that the city of Lexington and the county of Davidson have had winners. So they have sent representation. But I would think that it might be a good idea for others to reach out to them, even if they don't have a winning team or department, because they obviously are companies that are within that range or that area, trade area for the city and for the county that you live in. And they might want to come and be a part of that and celebrate with them.
I know we've had winners in our city and county as well, but it's the elected officials have never chosen to come, but that's something that we can do. But I do want to encourage our businesses to apply. So when you, like I said, send us a copy of that letter so we can promote it as well, would be great.
Sandra, that's a great idea as well. So along with Joe's idea and your idea, we'll definitely get that letter out to all the co-sponsors. And just to follow up on what Joe was telling you, and you were asking, is that something standard with elected officials? We really leave that up to you as the co-sponsor. I see it at probably maybe, and Kylie, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe about I wouldn't say quite half, maybe 35% of the banquets sometimes. And then they may even invite the elected officials or local elected officials in their area, and they may not come or something. But yes, that's something definitely that happens. So if that's something you would like to do, definitely you can add that to it.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Sam.
All right. So for the sake of moving through, and we still have time at the end to answer any questions you may have. Kylie, you want to go to bullet point 2 and talk about that?
Yes, so as far as the list goes to the co-sponsors with the safety award recipients, our goal is to send out a spreadsheet with all of the contact information like we have in the past, along with the formal banquet list. So that means it'll be in order how it is at the banquet, like it'll be listed first year silver, second year silver, and then all the way through gold, including million hours. And our goal is to get that out to you guys 4 weeks prior to the banquet, with a limited to no changes once we send it to you guys. That way it will be smooth and it won't change. And that's why it's important for us to have that cap off in February or the 6 week time window, whichever one we are doing with that. But just making sure that we can get the list to you guys without any changes 4 weeks out before the banquet. And Lamont, do you have anything to add to that?
I was just going to ask Brian, did that answer your question, Brian, that you had earlier?
Yeah, I think so. I agree with what Tanya said. I think as far as 4 weeks will be tight. As far as in advance of our banquet, we can certainly talk about that as we get things more in reality.
Okay. And again, this information, we may revisit it. We may look at trying to do sooner, but that's the purpose of this meeting, to get feedback from you all. We were trying to provide as much leeway as possible. I know last year we kind of struggled because we had a new database, new system that we converted to. So we did struggle to get some of that information to you. While we know that this new system that we have online database is definitely going to be more cost efficient for us as well as timely. Right now, we just have to work out some of the glitches in our system. So that's what we're trying to do. But we definitely, as a team, will go back and talk about these time frame and maybe expand those time frames, or maybe just have a hard February 15th date and say, if you don't have it by this date, or within 8 weeks, maybe. And then we may do, instead of doing 6 and 4, we may do 8 and 6. So we'll talk about it as a team. We'll try to make sure we provide you all with the services that you need to for this to be successful. All
One more
right.
question, one more thought. If you obviously you're going to go back and look at your time frames. If in advance we know our location, we know our possible pricing and some other details, could we submit that to you along with a link for registration to have on your site in advance of when we get the listing, so that people at their own discretion could connect with us through you to go ahead and register, even if it's before we get the actual list?
For us to handle registration, that would be.
No, well, just to share it, and they still connect. Like obviously, we send you our registration link with our
Oh,
pricing and things like that, so that if you don't have the list set to us without giving us a 4-week runway or less, if people already have that, let's say my date's June 1st, but let's say I know, like we have the facility here, we can host it here. That's already checked off for us. If we set the pricing and people like that, set that in advance, share it with you, people could go ahead if they choose to come to us. We already have that set to go.
so are you saying to put the registration link on a website? Is that maybe
Yeah.
I'm.
And then we could later on have our own, introduction like we normally would to them by, email or letter or e-letter or something like that. But then it at least gets the process going. I know everyone can't do that. I know everyone has to, pick their facility and things like that, but it might give us a way to kind of get registration going, even if it's before you guys provide us. Because if the doors open now, that it's not just those that are attending that are in my vicinity, then I could send you that and people could select it at their own accord.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Ryan, I don't want to commit to that, but let me
Sure,
give
yeah.
that some thought. And we'll talk about it as a team. We'll look
Sure.
at I have talked to our IT people and see what that will look like. I know that will be some inconsistencies in
I agree.
terms of, we have 30 banquets, and I'm sure not everybody is set up that way. So I don't know if that would create more calls for us, being that some won't have a link, some will have a link,
I
but
understand.
yeah, let us think about that and give that some thought. But that does sound like a great idea, but let us think about that one.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Um, so if there's not any more questions with bullet point 2, you want to go ahead, Kylie, and talk about bullet point 3?
Yes. So as far as the safety award recipients receiving, they're going to be receiving three-step award verification when they do submit their application in. The first verification will be the receipt of application. So it's gonna automatically send back to them what they filled out on the application immediately as soon as they submit the application. The second one will be saying if they are approved or if they don't qualify. And the third verification process is through our NC Department of Labor website. We will have an online review, which means we're going to post a list. Each banquet list will be posted on our website. They can go check and see the spelling as well as the year that they are supposed to be receiving, so that they can, if they have any questions about that, they can reach out to me about that before the banquet. That will help minimize any errors we have for the banquets on the banquet day. The final safety award banquet list, will be posted on the website 2 weeks prior to the banquet. And it'll just give them time to look over it and review it. If they have any questions, they can email me about it. Do you have anything you want to add, Lamont?
Just basically saying this, but we've got feedback from some of you all, and again, we do apologize. That's why we're trying to move forward with ensuring that we minimize any discrepancies or potential for discrepancies. So the part of this is this verification. There's that 3-step verification process where we are putting the onus on the award recipient, so they get a verification that we receive their application. That verification shows all the information that they submitted to us in terms of the spelling of their names, the correct name, the award level that they believe that they should be receiving, and then we give them that application verification, basically saying that they were approved or not approved, and then we said that we would put their verification on our website for them to review prior to the banquet. So it's so many different steps. We're saying, hey, look, this is what we have, but there's got to be some responsibility. And our overall purpose of this bullet point is to minimize that potential for the award recipients to come to you all as the co-sponsor, because I know in some of your cases that they kept asking you all questions. Well, our award's not right. Well, this isn't incorrect. And that's when we're trying to minimize that for you, because you all shouldn't have to be answering all those questions. But we are putting the responsibility on them as well, because sometimes they send us applications with the wrong spelling of the name or incorrect the way it is. They may be company ABC incorporated, but then somebody wrote LLC as opposed to incorporated, and then you all get all those questions, and we're trying to minimize that. So basically, that's all I had to say with that one.
Do we have any questions?
And again, we will look at that 2-week notice as we will look at all our timeframes again to try to make it based on the suggestions we've received from you all. Okay, Kylie, let's go to number 4.
Alrighty, so if in the case that there are award banquet changes or cancellations, if we have to cancel it or if we need to move it for whatever reason, we as the Department of Labor will sort the banquet list and email the award recipients. But we are also asking the co-sponsors as well to send out a notice of change and or a cancellation as well, just so that they will the recipients will know from both us and you guys that the banquet has been changed or canceled.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
do you have anything to add, Lamont?
Well, I was just going to say we had this situation. The reason why it's important for all of us to notify the award recipients, because we've had situations where we may notify them, but the banquet co-sponsor doesn't. And then we just had one last year where the person drove there and to the venue, and the banquet co-sponsor canceled, at the last minute. So again, that's one of the things we're asking of you all to help us with the cancellations or the change process. And we'll do our part, but I think as much communication as can be provided to ensure we don't have people drive a long distance to go to a banquet that's no longer that's either been canceled or that's been postponed or changed. Uh, we can just minimize that. You all have any questions regarding that or any concerns? Okay, we can go to number 5, Colin.
All right, so the request we have from you guys as far as just the whole process and what we are requesting from you is the banquets with dates. We would like to have that all scheduled and completed before December 20th or by December 20th. That way we can get this on the applications and we can post it on the website. And as well as a banquet agenda and discussion prior to banquet. So that's basically just like it can be a week or a day before, just kind of going over the banquet, the schedule, times. I know that we usually have a time that you guys will allow whenever you sign up for the banquet, but just to include that with the agenda. As far as the actual banquet itself, we are requesting to make sure that we have a separate table at all of the banquets that will be for the awards to be laid out on. Usually there's always a table, but just to make sure we put that out in there. And then also we were discussing this the other day, the possibility of table assignments for companies who are receiving multiple awards. I know that there's at each banquet different departments with one company, and there's could be anywhere from 10 to 40 of them coming up and getting awards and going back and forth. And we thought it might would be easier to set them all in the front of the room instead of the back, so that they're not having to go back and forth a lot. And then we also are requesting invoices from you guys within 5 to 7 business days after the banquet. This is super important because we have to have those invoices into our people to get them processed and everything, and we really need that about a week after the banquet. And then we
That's
also
invoices for that. I'm sorry, God. That's invoices for the Department of Labor. So when we bring staff, we just need to, in order for us to pay that bill in a timely manner, especially before we transition from one fiscal year to the next, like in the summer, we go from June to July. We want those all those invoices processed in order for you all to get your money in a timely manner. Sorry about that, Kyle. I just want to reiterate NCDOL. Go ahead.
Yeah, and can you guys let us know ahead of time how many you're bringing?
yes.
Okay.
Great questions, Sandra. We try to under the previous administration, unfortunately, well, I'm not gonna say unfortunately. It's great for us to have a lot of people show up and support, but sometimes Commissioner Dobson used to bring more people with him, and we were unaware at the time, or it was a last minute addition. Yeah. So we don't know how this under this administration is going to go, but we'll definitely try to work on that and make that better. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Go ahead,
We
Kyle.
also, oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I said go ahead.
Okay,
I'm
I thought
sorry.
you were about to say something. We also are asking like a request of numbers of people who have attended the banquet, either later in the day after the banquet has happened or a week after. This just helps with our end of the year numbers that we keep track of and knowing how many people get awards, how many people are attending the banquet. So we're just asking you guys for an attendance number total after the banquet, either the day of or a week up to a week after, just to help with that. So if do we have any questions, or can I move on to point number 6?
And just to clarify, that final attendance number, you want us to send that to you or Lamont or both of you guys? One,
Yes, you
Both
can
of
just
us.
yeah,
both will
email it to
work?
both of
Okay.
us. And if we don't have any more questions for that section, we can move on to point 6. This is ideas for co-sponsors for banquet growth. So these are just a few ideas that we have put down. You don't have to do any of it, but it's just a way to help grow the banquet numbers. We're really trying to get the numbers to go up this year and for the following years. One banquet that does a really good job of this is the Gastonia banquet. They have raffle drawings and giveaways. There's also, it just allows activities to provide for more engagement. If there's a brief period of entertainment, like local talent that you guys would like to bring in for the banquets, you can. Or if you have any other ideas that you would like to email me about, you can. Just a few things to help grow the banquet numbers. But if you guys have any other questions or you have anything you want to add?
I have something actually, Kylie. Um, so you were asking about some of these um possible ideas for banquet growth. So outside of this region, let's go towards more the central and eastern part of the state, and some of the larger areas. What others have you seen besides what you mentioned about Gastonia doing, like in the Wake County, the Raleigh area, the Wilmington area? What are you seeing as far as some of those extra things happening at these banquets?
We really, Raleigh and Wilmington don't really do much extra. It's just a new thing that we've thought about mentioning to everyone because the one in Gaston does it. But Raleigh and Wilmington have just been bigger over the past couple of years, I guess, just because of the companies that are in this region that are in the program.
Okay. Is there a specific time limit on these banquets? Like, you want to make sure that whatever, if we choose to do, additional engagement or maybe an extra speaker or having local talent, is there like a time cap for you, or is it more based upon whatever the venue puts for us?
Yeah, it really doesn't matter how long. It's just how long the venue is available for you guys, I think. And Lamont, you can add to that too.
Yeah, Erica. So the time frame again, like Kylie said, is pretty much based upon what you all have established with the venue, um, and also taking into account what time of day it is and the location and understanding the needs of your attendees at the banquet because you find some and how big the banquet is as well. You find some that it's a lunch period and they may give their uh, associates a couple of hours to go to the banquet and then come back to the office. So a lot of that to take under in consideration, and then kind of going back in the history. Um, when I first took over managing this program, we had more of a budget than the Department of Labor, so we actually used to pay for entertainment. But that soon, probably after a couple of years, we didn't have that in the budget. But we would have, just to break the ice, we would have a comedian or magician, and they would spend maybe about 10 minutes uh, doing something or saying a few things just to break the ice, and then we would go on into the banquet format. So it's just some things to kick around. It's nothing that we're saying you have to do, but if it's something you can think of, um, and one of our, and Kylie, you can elaborate on this. One of our, you spoke about, Eric, you spoke about like the Raleigh area, but one of our co-sponsors, they co-sponsor Raleigh and the Charlotte banquet. It's the North Carolina's Safety and Health Council. They don't have local entertainment, but the president that does it, he has an engagement piece that he does, how he gets the audience involved. He recognizes people for different things in the audience, and he has them stand up and maybe just represent the company and introduce themselves and stuff like that. So anything you all can think of, maybe to increase engagement, or like Sandra was asking about, asking Joe about bringing in some dignitaries, local officials. Anything you all can think of that would attract more people, that would be great. Yeah. So
Yes.
we have any other questions? And yeah, because if not, we appreciate the feedback. And we've got about 3 things that was listed here. I think one from Joe, one from Sandra, and one from Brian. And we'll look into those and definitely look into those dates and what time you brought up as well. But we appreciate all your feedback. We appreciate your participation in this meeting. And if there's not any more questions, or Kylie or Melody, you don't have anything to add, we can adjourn.
Thank you, Lamont and Kylie.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. And if you haven't, again, please in the chat box, put your name and company name. All right. All right. Thank you all and have a great day.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
All right. Bye-bye.